Well, they do need some help in the bullpen, it looks like, to be honest with you. Right? So, however we can help them out, that would be a good deal. But, no, it's fun for him, exciting for him. You know, I mean, anytime you get an opportunity, go be a pro athlete is a pretty special deal. So I'm happy for him.
Have you seen him pitch before?
I've never seen him pitch before, but he said he can throw it really fast. So I guess if you have that live in arm, there's only so many people in the world probably that can throw it pretty fast. So
It's more than there used to be.
I've seen his accuracy though, so I don't know if I'd want to stand in that batter's box. That's a pretty small little window right there. A little more margin for error on the field every once in a while. But no, I think it's exciting. I mean, it's exciting for him. I mean, Timmy's doing a great job of doing this. You know, they'll be at 10 years later, you know, you never know. Maybe after an NFL career, Felipe will end up pitching for the Red Sox one day.
So do you think this week or this opportunity is exciting for Felipe to come here, represent the team? I mean, I was a little surprised.
You picked him?
Yeah.
I would have been like shocked that I've tried not to do that before with a guy that was a returning starting quarterback position, and I got really in a lot of trouble from the SEC. They're like Dak was like, they're like, hey, I wasn't going to bring him because I like always brought like some underclassmen where people hadn't done it before. And for his senior year, his fifth year, and we're like, well, he's one of the biggest names in the league. How do you not bring him to media days? And so I figure everybody likes the quarterback here, especially if they've played.
But do you feel like it just shows another step for him in terms of being out there?
We'll watch the film. We'll watch the film afterwards and see how he handles himself today. No, I think it's great for him. I think he's, you earn the right to be here. I love to try to bring different people. I hate bringing repeat people here. So because I think there's so much great exposure and learning experience for the young guys to come to this type of event. So I think it's great for him. I'll probably get yelled at next year if he's not pitching for the Red Sox because I won't bring him next year because he'd already been here.
Do you think he'll be here next year?
No idea. That's him. Like I said, I'm not gonna throw at 95, so we gotta see.
Well, there's an NFL possibility too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, we'll see how he progresses. I think that's so much development involved in the quarterback position, and I think if you rush it, you see guys really end up hurting their careers at the next level if they rush the development aspect for them. So we'll see how he does this year.
Dan, how concerned are you about your roster number right now? I mean, with all the portals, the injuries.
Yeah, I mean, injuries are always right now. I think it's kind of the new era of college football. It's hard, unless the NCAA does something to change the rules to let you sign over, with guys that are transferring out. It's going to be hard to have full roster. But we were under last year a little bit. I'm sure we'll have a walk-on or two that's earned a scholarship. I'd be shocked if we don't have last year we put 2 walk-ons on scholarship. They were both, great contributors to the team.
Do you know what your number is right now?
No.
78 something.
Yeah,
I think it's less than that.
No, it's not less than that. I was looking at it today. We have 1 or 2 guys still, working on paperwork stuff to get here, so it can fluctuate in that number.
Could you still bring a guy in and transfer it?
I think we have a couple of initial spots still open. I met with John Clark today at it, and just what we're trying to do now is balance out the numbers over several years and seeing how many initials do we want to try to make sure we save, and for people leaving and the number of transfers as you continue to move. But
isn't that the hardest part right now? I mean, just
well, it is. I think one of the things that you see, the transfer deal is an interesting deal of. But I think it's kind of the new era of college football. We'll see if it starts to slow down. There's so many things that guys don't know. I think people, a lot of the players that are entering think it's one thing, and then they realize it's something different. Oh, thank you. Am I drinking the wrong type of water?
No. Is it an unusual number?
Huh? Well, I got to make sure that I'm promoting the right people. Right?
Is it an unusual number of people though in this one class? I mean, let's say a couple
in
of
the
these
portal?
guys don't. But they don't academically qualify. Let's say because that might happen. I'm saying the current 2019 class.
No, it's not.
5-6 guys.
It didn't really shock us. The qualification ones. I mean, those are the kind of guys. Some of the guys we knew we weren't expecting them to make it, and there was a chance they might. So I think we were kind of expecting the numbers to be a certain way in where they are. But the transfer thing you can't really control in today's world.
Why would you even sign those kids then? If you
Well,
think
because
they're
there's a
not
chance
qualified?
for them to
So
make
what's
it.
what's like the
And,
calculus?
and
then
well,
and the
they
risk
want to be
reward
Gators.
for
They
it?
can still go to junior college and qualify there. They could go to prep school depending on their situation within NCAA eligibility numbers. So a lot of it's a guy that you start recruiting a little bit later in his career, and you look their freshman and sophomore grades, and they really don't have much of a chance. But all of a sudden, they pick it up as they move on, and say, okay, this guy's going to figure it out and can be a good player. And so, I mean, I've had success with that with junior college players in the past as a head coach, and, go back to a Reggie Nelson, who was that at Florida when we were here before, was a guy that wasn't going to qualify, signed with Florida, went to junior college, came back to Florida, had a pretty good career. So
I guess
you have an idea of those before they start.
But do you
Like, a Wardrick Wilson, who obviously that's going to be a legal issue moving forward. We didn't expect that. I mean, full qualifier, NCAA qualifier.
Do you
Excuse me.
expect loyalty from
Good student.
like a guy like DeJuan Black? I mean, he's going to JUCO. Let's
I
say
don't know if I'm allowed to even
blows
talk
up.
about him yet right now. Am I
Oh,
now? Depending if he's
Well,
enrolled
just-
yet.
Well, let's say just in general, like junior college guys that you put the time in.
I think a lot of them do because, there's a reason they want a lot of guys like that. The reason they wanted to come to play for you in the first place and come be part of the program in the first place. So obviously it's like a speed bump for them in their careers that, they go somewhere else and they get the grades and then come have successful careers. And we have a lot of success with those type of guys. A lot of them, one of the tougher ones you see with a lot of guys in high school is, these guys get to high school, and especially the guys who are being recruited by us, a lot of them are great players as freshmen and sophomores, right? And they get all the internet sites and they get blown up and they're the number one ranked this and number one ranked that, and no one's explaining to them, hey, you got to get A's and B's in school still. They think it's smooth sailing, and not obviously not all of them, but there's some guys that affects. And you get to the point of no return. You get to a point where you're looking at a transcript and you're saying, okay, we think this guy's a great kid. I think he has potential to be a really good player. There's an outside-the-box chance that he can get 7 A's in classes and take 5 online classes and get A's and maybe get qualified. Doubtful, but there's a chance, and then he's got to pass the test to this point, because they got a terrible GPA leading into it. And but you give him that chance, but you always have kind of a plan set up. So, some of those guys we didn't expect to make. It would have been great if they did, but we don't expect them to make it. And that's where you ask the numbers that balances. Because if they did make it, you better have the scholarship in the initial for them. If they don't, you can count the initial back into next year's recruiting, or count into next year's recruiting class because they never reported.
Despite your hole in one, has it been kind of a rough summer in terms of like keeping the momentum going in terms of some bad news coming out different places?
I don't think so. I think it's been a pretty good summer. Our guys really positive. The team, great attitude. I think it's been a really good summer for us.
Just to clarify, Henderson and Marks both said that they are going to qualify and make it. Is that something that you can confirm?
I gotta see. We gotta finish the paperwork through the NCAA. It hasn't been filed, so I don't want to confirm it until they put the stamp on it. But it's July, so I'm sure they do some summer vacations up there too. So when the paperwork gets in, when they have their grades,
But they have a chance to get in still, Coach, for the fall?
I would think so.
What's the difficulty then for a freshman not coming in, not even early in the spring, but then not getting in until the end of summer, or fall?
There's
In
a lot
terms
of
of
guys
playing
that
and
do that.
contributing.
I mean, the biggest one is making sure they're in shape. That's the biggest one for us. The new NCAA rule helps. So those guys could show up a week or, there's guys that could show up and, start doing the workouts 2 weeks before training camp. They don't have to be enrolled in classes now to come in and start doing it, which I think is a great safety precaution. For the guys like that, the one thing you deal with, and it's hard with all the different rules that you deal with, is you have guys that are finishing school different times a year. I'd love everybody to get here for summer A, but half our guys were still taking classes in high school when summer A started. And then you have, so the guys show up at summer B, and then you have, another guy that had to, because school finished late and he had to take one extra online class or wait to take one more test. Can't hit the summer B deadline, but now at least you can bring them in early so they get to run, I mean, to me, really run, stretch, go through physicals, get some little bit of testing done so they're in shape to start training camp as it gets going. I think that's a big safety precaution. That's really good for it.
Any report on summer workouts?
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be good. I mean, I saw our team meeting this morning. Everybody was in a pretty good mood. And, guys are working. We'll see it. It's hard for me to judge all that till we start practicing. I talked to our guys today. We're getting close because of the the early game. That we're 11 days from reporting the training camp. And so they got to now start transitioning back into football mode. I mean, you go through off season, you transition into football for spring ball, then you get back into kind of an off season training, getting bigger, faster, stronger conditioning mode, and now you got to get back into getting ready for football, and you start to transition to that. So,
Dan, is there a sentence or a few words you can use to describe this team as we sit right in here today on the 15th of July, and you have to say, this team is blank to blank to blank?
boy, I don't know. They're so young. The team still, this year's team's only got a 1 year shelf life, but this year's team's only had 15 practices. We have almost twice that many before we even play a game. So, it's hard to see. I mean, I think we have guys that have a great attitude. They're excited about it. I like the approach that everybody seems to take. And, and we got to see all that translate into performance on the field of, how we finished last year and how you start off this year is going to be huge. I mean, if we can get off to a fast start early in the season and they continue all that positive momentum and the confidence that they're building in what we do and in themselves, and that, that team bonding is so important too. I mean, it's.
How does that feel right now, the bonding? Does that go pretty good for you?
Yeah, the team seems to have a great attitude together and really positive working together.
How important is that Miami game, man?
That's a big one. It's always I mean, first game of the season is always a big one because you want to have a winning record. I like having a winning record. Lose it, I don't ever like having a non-winning record during a season. So if you win the first one, at least you're halfway. You got a jump start. But it's a big rivalry game, and it's a great, obviously being the game to kick off the season special.
Players are talking about playoff championship team maybe. Do you like to hear that from your guys?
Sure. I'm worried about how hard we're going to practice, but they, I mean, I think that's a team. They have, you come to Florida to play for championships. That's why you come here, and so a lot of these guys came here with those expectations, and that wasn't happening, and then to play in a New Year's Six Bowl, finishing the top 6 in the country last year. I think that's why they wanted to be here, and that's what they're excited about.
What's the
We've
status
seen
of
at different times this summer, like the things that have happened, transfers and whatnot, the team kind of collectively get on social media or speak up. Do you like that? Is that team bonding, or is it a distraction?
No, I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, I think it shows that the guys that really believe in the team and believe in each other and believe in themselves, I think they have a strong opinion of what it is to be a Florida Gator and what it is to be a part of this team. And, I don't think they have a resentment towards any individual. I think they just have a really strong belief in what it is to be a Gator.
Chris Bleish was saying that John Hevesy was telling him just how important it is to kind of make ground up quickly, because it's a lot easier to go from 4 wins to 10 than 10 to 11.
It is.
What can you talk about that concept and what's it going to take
Well,
to kind of make that next step?
It is, I mean, it was, you look at it, I don't think people expected a whole lot out of the team last year, and, they hadn't had a couple of, okay seasons, or a lot of this, and so to go from being down to having a pretty good year is big, but to go from 10 wins to 11 wins shows consistency in winning and getting ready to compete for championships at a consistent level. That's a lot harder than having one great season. And so, I think a lot of our guys, it's critical that they understand how hard they have to work. If we work as hard as we did last offseason and last training camp, then we can expect to win 10 games at the most. I mean, if we're not getting better, you're not going to expect to see better results. So, I think a lot of it is a sense of urgency of guys, and especially when you look at the young guys that got to enjoy 10 wins last year, got to enjoy kind of the hype and the things that go with that. And, you know, they were waving towels on the sidelines enjoying it. Now they're expected to go do something about it to try to get it from 10 to 11. That there's a huge sense of urgency for the guys to do that.
What's the status of John Huggins?
He's taking classes and getting ready for the season.
There's some rumors on the internet, so.
Same thing that Felipe Franks is doing, I think, right? Well, he's not taking classes today.
You know, Felipe in the games against SEC ranked opponents last year, 3 teams, it was like 48-4 completion percentage and 2 to 3 TD interception ratio.
Okay.
Those numbers against the best teams, you know, theoretically in the SEC that you guys played, I mean, where does he need to take steps to, like,
I think
get those
consistency
better?
of play, you know, if you look at, like, you know, then he goes, has a pretty good game, I think, against Michigan, who's one of the best defenses in America. So, but I think that comes with experience, your consistency of play, and understanding the offense and understanding what we're trying to do and how to manage. You know, I mean, he's a really young player still. You know, he was a sophomore last year. You know, so I think you expect bigger things this year. But I don't see many quarterbacks that end up being special till they get older in their careers. But special in some people's mind, you know, is different. Like they think of it all statistics based instead of, you know, the quality of play, you know, base of things. And, you know, so I don't think it's as much as maybe just pure statistics as it is of his consistency of performance and leading the team to go win and what decisions he's making to make those things happen.
well, how far did you see since the Georgia game? Because that was the last of those 3 opponents. How far did he come?
Pretty good. You know, some of them are game plans. You know, I mean, I think I don't know who were the ranked teams we played.
Mississippi State, LSU, Georgia.
I thought he did a great job in Mississippi State game and the LSU game.
And like you said, they were just
Managing,
statistics.
but yeah, statistics, but also like of understanding what the game plans are and how you're going to manage a game plan. You know, in the Georgia game, I thought he did some good things. You know, and you know, I think the first play kind of could have hurt him. I mean, could have had an 80-yard touchdown on the first play of the game, overthrew the receiver. But I think just overall consistency and his comfort level within the system and the offense, and then. You know, I think we have last year this time, you know, it was like, boy, the biggest weak spot on the team is going to be the wide receivers, you know, and now all of a sudden the biggest strength of the team is the wide receivers only a year later. So I think that'll help someone like him as well of having some veteran guys around him to get the ball to.
You spoke to you earlier this summer about Franks, and you made a comment about playing quarterback in Florida is a different thing, a lot of pressures, and you said most people would take his numbers in the country, you know, which are 24-7 and whatever. Can you tell us about that progress and why do you think it is they named 5 quarterbacks or 6 quarterbacks in the SEC before Frank's names comes up? Is it just that he's not long enough?
I don't name them, so I don't know who does.
But think about it. Why?
I don't know. We'll see at the end of the season.
Yeah.
That's really what matters, you know. I mean, you can name. I mean, I don't know. I just got to visit with Alex Smith. I think he was the 750th ranked quarterback in his class. Why would they name 750 quarterbacks in front of Alex Smith or 250 in front of I don't know, probably quarterbacks. I think he was a zero. So, you know, Dak Prescott. There were a lot of people named in front of him, and he was a pretty good player. So I don't know. I mean, right? Tom Brady's okay. Why would they pick all those people before him? Somebody was saying he's not very good. So I don't know who picks all that stuff, and I don't worry about it. I worry about his growth and his development and where he's at, and is he doing what he needs to do to lead our team and help us be successful. I think those are the most important things, and I think he's taken some big strides this offseason and through spring ball. We'll see it getting into training camp. I think, you know, the biggest thing for quarterbacks is what you do when we're not around. I'm not allowed on the field with him with a ball in his hand since, when was the spring game? April 14th?
Yeah.
April 14th. That's the last time I've been able to be on the field while he's been throwing a football. So that's a long time. So if he's worked really hard. He's going to have a great season. If he hasn't, he'll probably have an average season. That's a lot how I view the quarterback
So
position.
some of
Two
those
final
things-
questions, please.
Some of those things you mentioned are kind of ambiguous, so how do you measure that?
Which ones?
Like, is he leading the team, is he putting them in?
Well, I can see those things because I mean I can be around the team. I just can't be out there where they're doing football things. So, and I think he's taken a lot of positive steps within leadership and his demeanor, his approach to the game. Certainly through spring, I saw that, and how he was seeing the offense, understanding what we're trying to accomplish. But the other ones, it's going to be hard to see until we get into fall camp and see his confidence, command of the offense, and then, obviously, then you got to transition from that onto the field. And how are you handling all the adversities that you're going to face during the season? Because you have adversity of success and as much as you have adversity of failure, right? I always go back and sat with Dak Prescott about all the pressures when he was facing, all of a sudden becoming like a Heisman candidate or whatever at Mississippi State, and you're number one, and he's got all this pressure on him. I said, well, it's a really simple solution. Go throw 3 picks, and you don't have any more pressure on you. If you don't like the success, go play terrible, and you don't have to deal with it anymore. And so I think learning how to handle all those things, we'll see how he learns. I guess it was a good learning experience for him because I made the same call before he started his first game in the NFL. I said, well, if you don't want to be the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, go out and play terrible today. They'll go find somebody else. I guarantee you that when he was a rookie. And he ended up doing okay.
P. Ryan has talked about wanting to become a complete back. Has he kind of reached that stage in his career now?
Well, I think one of the great things and the smart things you look at of him making a decision and coming back to school is that you look at how, as a complete back, not just in college, but I know he has aspirations of playing at the next level and going into the pros. And if you look, you don't see lots of guys. There's not tons of guys that just get 30-some carries a game in the NFL. You see backs used all over, in motion and out of the backfield, in the pass game, in receptions, all over the place, and the value that those players have. So he's somebody that's really worked on making himself a complete player, not just a great back running the ball, but make sure he understands protection, make sure he understands route running and a bigger picture of the game, which will help him